Jagannāthas ki jai. Om Agyantimandasya Gyananjalashalakaya Chakshunmalitam Dina Tasmai Shri Guve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manupastam Stapitam Yena Vuttale Swayam Upakaramayam Darati Swavadantikam Namam Vishnupada Krishnavasta Vuttale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Govani Pachayane Nivishesha Shunyavadi Pashatara Shatarine Vanshakapa Dubhyasha Kripa Sinuvevacha Padittanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Pavanityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shri Vasari Go Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This is almost like a ladies' program. Okay. So, do we have anybody here who I am meeting the first time? Or have I met everybody before? So it looks like everybody has met me. Okay, good. Then no need for me to introduce myself. We met before? No? All right, just 2 minutes introduction. So my name is Devaki. I am originally from Germany, but I haven't lived there for 40 years. I left Germany in '84, traveled the world looking for a higher purpose to life, and then I met the devotees in Australia, in Sydney. So I lived for 4 years in the ladies' ashram in Sydney, and then I married a devotee whose parents were from Latvia. So then 2 months after our marriage, we came here to Riga in 1989. And we started the preaching here, actually. There was no center, no temple, nothing really. So actually yesterday we had a nice program where I was sharing how we got this building and Christian Baron Yellow and so somewhere there's some recordings. So yeah, it was a very adventurous journey. So and I was here for 10 years together with my former husband. Then my former husband left Krishna consciousness and left me and took a break from devotional life. So and since then I'm in white, I'm traveling the world now preaching. I spend 5 months per year preaching in India and Bangladesh, and 7 months per year all around the world basically. Sometimes I go to South Africa, sometimes to Australia and New Zealand, sometimes to US and Canada, all around Europe. Before the war I spent a lot of time in Ukraine, but now I can't really go there. And I have an institute for spiritual culture because in due course of my preaching in Bangladesh, I learned a lot of things about Vaishnava culture. And that inspired me to establish an institute, and I put some courses together, which I teach every year in Mayapur. And now I'm putting these courses in book form. So far, I've published 5 of them. The 6th one is on the way. Yeah, so that keeps me busy. And yeah, I haven't been to Latvia that much recently. 3 years ago I was here for Janmashtami during pandemic, and we had a nice program here in the yard. It was very nice and appropriate for pandemic, and we locked the gates and nobody could come and disturb us. And we were outside, so people could not complain, you know. Yeah, so that was the last time I was here, and before that, yeah, I was kind of in exile, you know. Yeah, so much about my little story. So our topic today is respect, the foundation to intimacy and bhaktī. Right? Yes, this topic of respect is one of the topics I feel a great urgency to talk about, because it's such an important topic. I mean, all my topics, I find them so urgent and important. So, yes. I guess that's what inspires me to travel as far as possible and bring attention to these topics. So yeah, let us first of all understand where respect comes from. We can say humility, we can understand humility to be the primary quality, which is of the greatest importance if we want to become pure devotees. So, and this humility manifests in secondary qualities. And one of these secondary qualities is respect. In other words, a humble person will naturally be respectful, right? Whereas a proud person will never be respectful. And other secondary qualities are also tolerance and forgiveness. Actually, next Wednesday we have a program about the power of forgiveness. This is a good topic. Yes. Yeah, so tolerance, forgiveness, patience. We can see these qualities all as secondary qualities to humility. Right? You're with me? Yes. So in other words, a person who is humble will naturally be tolerant, will naturally be grateful, will naturally be forgiving. Whereas a proud person will be none of these things. You know, so like that we can understand how things connect, that the root of these qualities is actually humility. And humility manifests in all these secondary qualities. Right? Yes, and also we know Lord Krishna. Also we know, you know, Mahaprabhu's Shikshastakam instructions, Trinadapi Sunichina. So we are meant to be more humble than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree. And with that mindset, we can be respectful to one and all, and we should never demand respect for ourselves. You know, so Mahaprabhu gave us these important principles. So now today we can say there is a rather superficial understanding of respect. That people often think that we can only respect a person who is exemplary in all regards. Right? Yes, here Prabhuji needs translation. Where's the Latvian translation? There. There's Latvian parallel translation and Russian here. Is we need to push also. Yes. Yes.
I'm just saying everybody will talk if I also translate them.
Yeah, oh, they're talking pretty quietly there.
No, they are, yes.
Yes.
They want me to also start.
Okay. Well, the kids probably are talking louder than our translators, you know. Yes. So, let's go back to respect. A superficial understanding is that we can only respect a person who is perfect and exemplary. And very often we come across this, that people say, how can I respect this person? He is like this and this and this. Sorry, I can't respect him. Right? Yes, we hear this understanding very commonly. So I try to understand, why is this? Because after all, Vaishnava is meant to respect every living entity, even the non-devotees. You know, what to speak of those who try to become Vaishnavas? But even non-devotees, even animals, plants, trees, you know, we are meant to respect every living entity as part and parcel of Krishna's creation. And all these living entities, there's the super soul present, Paramatma is there. So, and especially aspiring devotees, they're all very dear to Krishna. They're very dear to Prabhupada. Yes, you were translating?
Aspiring.
Aspiring. You got stuck on that one, is it? Yeah, don't get stuck, otherwise you lose the track there, you know, just skip it. Those who are trying to be devotees is aspiring. They want to become one day devotees. So, yeah, so, you know, they're very dear to Krishna, very dear to Prabhupada, very dear to Guru. So who are we to disrespect them? Right? We have no right to disrespect any living entity. So, and when we look a little deeper, what is behind this mentality that we can only respect perfect devotees, or who act perfectly? So there is actually envy behind. We discussed this topic last Sunday in the temple. Because what happens is, as soon as we see somebody who has some shortcomings, then we evaluate. We think, oh, am I better? I don't have that shortcoming, so I'm actually better. So why should I respect this person? You know? We try and reduce this person's importance by not respecting them out of envy, actually, in order to establish our own superiority. That's what's behind it, you know. Yes. So interesting to understand these subtle connections, how things are connected, you know. Yes. Yes, so another interesting point is to understand that a culture of sense gratification is based on a culture of disrespect. Because to enjoy means there is an exploitative attitude there. We use others for our own sense enjoyment. And this can only go on if we are disrespectful, right? Yes, you understand my thought process? So if we are truly respecting people, we will never ever dare to use them for our sense gratification. So in other words, a culture of sense gratification, which is materialistic life. It is all about enjoying, and we step on each other's heads to get up there. We compete. As soon as sense enjoyment is the goal, there's envy, competition entering. So we step on each other's head to get up there, and we use each other's in gross and subtle ways for our interests. And that gives a culture of disrespect. Yes, very strongly. Even towards Mother Earth, nature, you know. I think we are all aware of this, how Mother Earth, we really milked her for our sense gratification. You know, the whole nature is so destroyed, the oceans are full of plastic, and it is irreparable. The damage humanity has set cannot be repaired anymore. And why? Simply for our own interest and selfish sense gratification. Yes, we have exploited, you know, Mother Nature and Krishna's creation. And that can only take place if there's a culture of disrespect. Yes. So, yeah, and on the other side, a culture of bhaktī has to be based on a culture of respect. Yes, because spiritual knowledge has to be passed down. Spiritual knowledge comes from above. It is descending. And it can only descend if we are in a respectful frame of mind to receive it. Right? Yes. So only then our superiors can pass down the values, the traditions, the transcendental knowledge. You know, this is a very important aspect of receiving mercy, blessings, knowledge. It has to be passed down from those who are more experienced and more realized. They pass down to those who are less experienced. So, but this process of passing down is only possible if there is respect from both sides. The seniors have to respect the juniors. You know, they have to see them as the future. The youth, the young generation is the future. The children are the future. So there has to be that respect there, that the seniors want to sacrifice themselves to uplift the juniors and shed their blood, sweat and tears for the upliftment of the young generation. This will only be there if there is respect. Even in preaching, you know, a preacher can only preach if he's got respect for each and every person in the audience. If he sees every person, especially invited souls from Sri Džaganāthas, Sri Prabhupada, Lord Džaganāthas, whoever, you know. So then, if that respectful attitude is there, that we see every person coming to a center, coming to the temple, especially invited guests of their lordships, so then there is respect there. And then we want to give them something. Right? And in the same way that respect has to be there from the juniors towards the seniors. Like Bhagavad Gita tells us, Tatvidi Panipatina Pariprashnena Sevaya. So this is not only towards Guru like that, but actually we should behave like that towards anybody who has more experience than we have. That we are keen to offer humble service and we are eager to inquire. Right? And these two elements, inquiry and service, they are enhancing each other. So the more keen we are to offer humble service to a person, the more eager we will be to hear and inquire from that person. And the more we hear and inquire, the more we feel inspired to serve. And again, we want to hear and inquire more. and like that they enhance each other. So without these two, aspects of being eager to offer humble menial service and to inquire and hear, we actually cannot really receive anything. Yeah, so spiritual life is descending, whereas material knowledge is ascending. We try to work it all out ourselves and we get up there and so on. But in spiritual terms, it is descending. We actually cannot do much without mercy and blessings. And mercy and blessings, they flow from high to low, like water flows from high to low. So therefore, if we want to get some blessings, some mercy, we have to put ourselves in a lower position. Only then it can flow, like that. Yes. And yes. Interestingly, to observe that respect is very much related to the standard of life in a society. The higher the standard of life is, the more sense gratification becomes the goal. And the more spiritual culture is pushed aside. And the more disrespect comes in. Whereas in countries with a low level of standard of life, in poor countries, there people don't have the money in the pocket to enjoy. And there it is much easier to understand that, yes, spiritual life, religiosity, that's the source of true joy and satisfaction. So that maintains more the spiritual culture, and therefore also the respect within society. Right? We can see this very clearly, and because also I'm traveling to so many countries in the world, so I can observe this very clearly, that in those countries where the standard of life is more simple, like Ukraine, even before the war, was very simple life there, or Bangladesh, places like that. Eastern Europe, Czech Republic, also standard of life is lower. There we find that people have a more respectful attitude, because life is not so materialistic yet, Yes. Whereas when we go more west, we can say the more west we go, the more the standard of life goes up, the more the level of respect goes down. So here, Latvia, it's kind of in between. But also, standard of life is also higher than 30 years ago when we started here, Although in this part of Riga, I feel things still look like 30 years ago, The houses look still the same. Some of them still didn't get a coat of paint since then, But then when you go more west, like Germany, already respect goes down. And then, when you go to the States, US, oh my God, more the respect goes down, Yes, shockingly, the way people, relate to each other, deal with each other. I remember on one of my tours around US, I had this situation that one young devotee, he was not initiated, he was a bhakta. He was making some announcement, and there was some Prabhupada disciples present. And then he referred to the Prabhupada disciples, saying, "You guys." Yeah, I guess you guys can take prasadam there. I was shocked, my God, you know, addressing Prabhupada disciples as you guys. Yeah, I was completely shocked. So then when I flew to the next city in the US, when the plane was landing, the flight assistant was announcing, yes, and I wish you guys a nice day in wherever it was. So I thought, okay, you know, this must be the sign of friendship in America, you guys, you know. But yeah, I mean, this is rather disrespectful, you know, to refer to people as you guys, you know. Yes, come on, you know. So, but yeah, I mean, I detected, you know, if you're long enough in such atmosphere, I caught myself also saying you guys, just by association. You kind of, it just slips in, you know, if you hear it often enough, you know, 2 months you travel around the US, so then you start talking like that too, you know, and I thought, oh my God, I better watch out. And then I also met one lady in America. She was working somewhere, I can't even remember where. And she just, by the way, she mentioned that the rule of the office is that you can't refer to each other as you guys. They were trying to abolish this from their company climate, their etiquettes and standards, you know. So yeah, obviously some people, they realize that this is not a very respectful way of dealing with each other, you know. But then in America you also find people, they always say, yes ma'am, yes sir, yes madam. You know, so trying to be respectful. Also in France, oui monsieur, oui madame, you know. I will fly to Paris next week. So yeah, in some parts of the world, some little, you know, culture dealings are still there. And I mean, even talking about Russian language, and I guess in Latvian it's probably also that you have the familiar you and the respectful you, right? Yes. So in German language we also have this. So, and I remember in my childhood, 60 years ago, the etiquette was that when a person was 16 or above, you would address them with a formal you, with a respectful you. That was the etiquette, you know. Yes. And only really close friends you would call with a familiar you. But now, 60 years later in Germany, the respectful you has almost been abolished from the language. People don't use this anymore. Even when they don't know each other, maybe for the first 2 minutes they use the respectful you, but then they just go into the familiar you. And of course, even amongst devotees, you know, what do you think? How do they address their guru? With a familiar you in Germany, you know? Yes, they don't say the respectful you. They say the familiar you. And this is also, yeah, little unusual, you know. I mean, in Latvian language, how do you, I guess no guru speaks Latvian, right? So you're not in that. But how do you address your guru in Latvian language? With the familiar you or the respectful you? Huh? What?
With a respectful you.
With a respectful you. I know in Russian language, definitely they use the respectful you. But in Latvian also, huh?
Question, can I
No question now. The question come later, otherwise.
Forget it.
Yes. Yes. So, I mean, in Germany are so many Russian-speaking devotees from Ukraine, from Russia, everywhere. And they're always shocked, you know. They would never ever call their guru with a familiar you know. Even other devotees, even people like myself, they always use the familiar you, the respectful you. Even though I know them for 25 years, you know, but still they use that respectful you. They insist on this. But amongst German devotees, they all use the familiar you know. Yes. So there you can see, you know, how this level of respect is reducing, especially in countries which are more, have a higher standard of life, you know. And interesting to understand, we actually don't really know what is respect. And we think it to be some, you know, something formal and impersonal. And we try, the modern mood is to try and create intimacy by throwing out the respect. We think this creates intimacy by getting rid of the respect. Oh, let's be all tummy buddies, and you know, yes, I'm good friends with them, and you know. But what we actually create is over familiarity. It's not intimacy. True intimacy has to be based on respect. There is a verse in the Bhagavatam where it says, it's kind of interesting, especially for us ladies, the instruction is one should serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead and a husband with intimacy and reverence, meaning respect. So in any intimate relationship, as serving the Lord or serving a husband, and also for the husband to serve the wife, also, respect has to be there. Intimacy and respect have to go together. If intimacy is not based on respect, then very easily we become over-familiar, meaning we take each other lightly, cheaply. Who of you is married? Let me see. A few. So, married life. So easily this over-familiarity sneaks in, right? Yes, because you know each other so well, you know each other's weaknesses, you see each other every day, you know, so very easily we take each other lightly and cheaply, and we become over-familiar, and we lose respect. And we say things to each other which we would never ever say to any other devotee. But it's just my husband. It's just my wife. You know? And we say all kinds of ridiculous things which we would never ever say to anybody, where we have a more respectful distance there, you know. And this over-familiarity, this spoils any relationship. Yes. It can even also enter the guru-disciple relationship. That's why guru keeps disciple always at a good distance. You know, because if guru allows the disciple to come too close, then very easily disciple starts finding faults and sees guru as an ordinary person, and starts criticizing, oh, why is he doing like this? He should be doing like that. You know, very easily some critical thoughts come in. So that's why this over-familiarity damages and destroys any relationship. Doesn't matter whether it's with husband, with guru, even with the Lord. When, let's say, we are a pujari in a big temple with a high standard of worship, and we do puja every morning. Hare Krishna. If we do puja every morning, then again we become over familiar with the Lord, and we forget what we do there on the altar. We forget that we are worshipping the Lord personally, and very easily our puja becomes some mechanical routine business there. And again, this over familiarity sneaks in, we lose respect, we commit offenses, and it can damage our spiritual life immensely. You know, so this over familiarity, very dangerous thing. So we have to be clear in this, that true intimacy has to be based on respect in all relationships. Respect is the price to pay. So many background noises there. They're competing with me, you know. Yeah, so true respect is the price to pay to relish intimacy. Yes, in all relationships. So we should not fall into this misunderstanding of thinking that, this respect makes relationships so formal and impersonal. No, it doesn't. You know, it doesn't. So it sets the foundation for true intimacy. Yes. So, and I guess Vaishnava etiquette and culture is trying to help us to cultivate this respectful mood. You know? Even the way we address each other, strictly speaking, we should not just call each other by name. You know? It's actually over familiar. Amongst ladies, amongst men, definitely between the genders, we should not just call each other by a name, but it is always such and such Prabhu, such and such matadžī, you know, or mother such and such, matushka, such and such. But just the name, too over familiar, actually. What's your culture here? How do you call each other? Probably by name. Yes? Yes. Yeah. Better is to add matadžī, Prabhu. You know? Yes. It creates a more respectful mood. You know? It is maybe in the beginning a little, we are not used to it. So the mind thinks, this is strange or something. But it's just a question of the mind getting used to it. You know? Yes. And for me, it's unusual. I feel uncomfortable just calling people by name. Even if they're not initiated, doesn't matter. Still, we should be respectful. We should call them matadžī. We should call them, whatever, Cieņa Prabhu or something, and not just hey Cieņa. It's inappropriate actually. And you're simplifying the translation. Main thing is you get the essence across. So even in married life, strictly speaking, as we said, husband-wife relationships, so easily people become over-familiar. So strictly speaking, husband and wife should not simply call each other by name. So how is the wife meant to call the husband? Who knows? Pati or Prabhu, exactly. So you can choose. If you feel you call all other men Prabhu and you want to have a different name for your husband, you call him Pati. That means husband. Or Prabhu. So, and how is the husband meant to call the wife? Devi, very true. Definitely not matadžī. He calls all other women matadžī, but not his wife. His wife is Devi, goddess. She's the goddess, Lakshmi Devi. Yes, yes. So these little things help to maintain a respectful attitude, I mean, I know some Ukrainian devotees, husband and wife, they even use the formal you between them, between husband and wife, just to keep that respectful attitude, because, whole relationship can be ruined and damaged if we lose that respect, Yes. And I mean, we can really say, especially these days in Kali Yuga, respect is really going down rapidly. Also towards elders, I mean, 60 years ago when I was a kid in Germany, life was so different. There was respect towards the elders. Like in the tram, when an elderly person comes in the tram or bus, we would get up and offer them the seat and all this. The people today, they don't do these things anymore. So interesting also. I mean, I learned many things in my humble preaching efforts there in Bangladesh. Like in Bangladesh, people have this respect so deeply ingrained into the heart. And they don't only respect living entities, but also objects. Yes, for example, any object which should not be naturally touched with the feet, which is not meant to be touched with the feet, should not be touched with the feet. So only your shoes, the floor, whatever is naturally meant to be touched with the feet, that is okay. But if you touch anything else with your feet, that is an offense. And I once found myself in the situation, I was in a meeting with senior devotees, and I had my computer bag there, and I moved my computer bag aside with my foot. And the devotees were looking at me completely shocked. They were too cultured to say anything. Nobody said anything. But I immediately realized that I was not meant to do this. There is this respect there that everything is part of Krishna's energy. And we don't just kick things around or move them around with our feet. And if you really think about it, when you move some bag with your foot, if you really look in your heart, there is some pride, some arrogance there. Oh, what's this here? Move it out with your foot, Yeah, it is actually there. So I have observed, when they touch a computer bag with a foot, then they apologize to the computer bag. That's the proper behavior, Like in India, we apologize when we bump into somebody. We apologize by doing like this, So, and I mean, you're from India, I believe, so you probably know all these things I'm talking about here.
Actually, I am from Fiji Islands.
Fiji Islands, that's one place where I haven't been yet. But I'm planning to go there on my next Australia trip, because from there it's not so far. Yes. Yeah, but I'm sure you've got the culture in the blood, you know. So yeah, people apologize to the computer bag. You know, yes. Or especially with musical instruments. You know, in the West I often see people sitting on the harmonium and the foot touches the harmonium. Oh, it's actually so gross and inappropriate. You know, because especially harmonium, this is Balaram, you know, this Krishna's paraphernalia is all an expansion of Baladev. So, or Mridanga, you don't hold the Mridanga in such a way that it touches the foot, you know, but people stretch out one leg and they rest the Mridanga on the calf, but not on the foot, you know. So all these subtle things, we in the Western world, we don't learn them so much, you know, and we are a little rough and gross and, yeah, disrespectful, and we just move things around with the feet and all that, you know. Yeah, we're not meant to sit like that the feet point at persons, or especially at the deities. Very inappropriate, and also should be covered, you know, as far as possible. And so on. So yeah, there's a lot of little details which all form the Vaishnava etiquette and culture to help us cultivate respect. You know? Yes. And I mean, this point that respect is so decreasing now, also in our ISKCON society, this is a real danger, because, as I mentioned in the beginning, if the respect is lost, then the young generation will not accept, you know, the instructions from the seniors. The seniors can't hand down things to the juniors, the values, the standards, and they can't pass on anything. And that means gradually the process of Krishna consciousness will be watered down. Because every generation, you know, the young generation brings in some modern ideas and that waters down the whole process of bhakti. And that is a real danger. And it is already a little taking place in ISKCON. You know, if you've been around for 40 years, you see how things are not the way they were 40 years ago. You know? And I have also met senior devotees, Prabhupada disciples, especially in America, who have voiced this to me. They have shared that, you know, that they can exactly see what the young generation should be instructed and corrected. But because that respect is missing, they will not accept, and therefore they can't say anything, right? So this is often happening, that the young people, you know, come up with their ideas and want to do things like this and that, which are not really according to what Prabhupada was teaching us. But because that respect is missing, they can't instruct. And then the whole process gets watered down, and the essence, the purity gets lost. You know? That is a real danger, a real danger. So that's why this topic of respect is so important, you know, because if we don't understand the importance of respect, the whole process of bhakti will be watered down within a few short years, you know. Yes. And another interesting thing is, especially since many of you have children, respect has to be taught at very young age. Yes. Early childhood. the parents have to teach the child respect. And of course, we teach by setting the own example. So the parents have to behave in a respectful way, you know. And I have also come across this in countries like Bangladesh. There, when I visit some grihastha's house and they have children, you know, the whole family pays obeisances. And already the child, 1 year of age, can't even talk. You know, the parents say, oh, sadhu's coming, Dandavat, you have to pay obeisances, put their head to the ground, touch the feet, sadhu, you know, like that. Already at young age, 1 year of age, the children learn this. And of course the parents also set that example, you know. And this is something which is not understood in the Western world. Oh my God, you know? Yes, hardly any parent teaches this. Because people think that this is somehow old-fashioned, you know? And they think, oh, the modern days, we are all equal and we are all cool and this and that. But no, the parents, it's the parents' duty, you know, to teach the children respect, especially the mothers. Because if the child doesn't learn that at young age, then very easily we miss the boat, you know. When the child is 15, oh well, then it's too late. You know, teenagers, they don't want to hear what the parents have to say, you know. So child has to learn it from youngest age. And that creates such a sweet atmosphere actually when the children learn this, you know, because that invites that the seniors can give the blessings. Yeah. Like in Germany, there's this farm, Simhachalam, maybe some of you have heard of it or have been there. And there is 3 brothers. They grew up in Krishna consciousness. They went to a Gurukul in South America and Peru. So, and one of them used to be the temple president, now the other one is the temple president. But one of them, he really was practicing this mood of respect. And I got stuck there in during pandemic in Simhachalam, you know. I was stuck in Germany, so I spent some time there. And it was very sweet. So every time I came into his office, he would stand up, because that's actually how we are meant to welcome a more senior person, that we get up from our seat, you know. Like, I'm sure in your childhood, you learned this at school, right? When the teacher came in, everybody was standing up. Are they still doing this today? I don't think so. No. Today, this is all lost, you know. Today, the pupils greet their teachers with their feet on their table there, you know. That's how they greet them. But actually, that's the etiquette, that when a senior person walks past or comes in, we are meant to get up from our seat. So this young temple president, he was always doing that. Whenever I walked in his office, he was standing up saying, oh, Hare Krishna, matadžī, what can I do for you? You know, and it creates such a sweet atmosphere. Because then as an elder, as a senior, you can give some blessing, some affection, you know, when that respect is there. But if that respect is not there, you know, then, yeah, that sweetness and affection and blessings and mercy cannot really flow, you know. Yeah. Yeah, so there's many little rules of Vaishnava etiquette. Also in Bangladesh, you know, when the devotees sit on their book tables distributing books and big programs. So whenever a senior person walks past the book table, they all stand up from their chair, you know. And then when you walk past, so then afterwards they sit back down on their chair. You know, that's actually the etiquette. Yes. Yeah, so good to learn these things and, you know, invite this culture of respect in our life, you know. Yes. Yeah. And of course, I mean, like for example, in a temple room setting, you know, we have all these little rules that we give the ghee lamp first to the seniors and or in a Bhagavatam class, the seniors chant the Sanskrit shloka first, not the new bhaktas or bhaktis, they barge in there. But no, we have this mood of always letting the seniors first, you know. Even Chanamrita, seniors go first. Even with prasadam, when we sit in a row, you know, the senior most people, you know, managerial position or visitor or something, we should give them the prasadam first. And then we go with a bucket around, you know. Or when we queue up for anything, we should let the seniors go first, you know. So all these little rules, they're good to follow, you know, because they're meant to help us cultivate the culture of respect, you know. Yes. Because, yeah, if we don't cultivate respect, then we are the ones who are missing out. We can't get the blessings and the mercy and the whole process of devotional life easily waters down. Yes. Yeah, also respect towards children also has to be there. You know, in Bangladesh I have seen, you know, the spiritual vision is that we understand, yes, this is just a question of a few years until this little kid is a grown-up Vaishnava, you know, and what do we know who this person was in their previous life, you know? We may think, he's just a kid. No. Is a Vaishnava, born in a Vaishnava family, most likely continuing from previous lifetime. You know, that they may be so much more advanced than we are. You know, so we are meant to deal respectfully with the child. You know, yes. And I have also seen this in Bangladesh, how respectful they are towards children. Like even when a toddler, a small kid is somehow run over in the kirtan or something, they all apologize to him, I bumped this little Vaishnava and you know, yes. And also, you know, the etiquette towards children is that actually especially if it's not your own child, the only bona fide touch towards children is blessings on the head. That's the only bona fide touch. Of course, if you are the mother or father, of course, then you can hug the child and so many other affectionate dealings. But if that child is not your child, only bona fide touch is blessings on the head. Yeah. Not all this, and you know, how people treat children, you know. And often the children hate it when everybody comes, you're so cute and all this. Because what is behind it? You know, we are using that child for our emotional satisfaction, fondling the child. You know, it's actually disrespectful. You know, how would you feel if somebody comes up, you're so cute, you know? Yeah, hey, you know, leave me alone, you know, don't treat me like this, you know? Yes, and a child often feels like that too. The children usually hate it. And it's actually inappropriate, you know, or pinching the child in the bum or whatever. You know, this is all disrespectful behavior towards children. And that, at the same time, protects the child from child abuse, right? if this is clear, that the only bona fide touch is hand on the head, blessings, nothing else. So that protects the grown-ups and the child from abusive behavior. Yes, yes. This is also something which is not really understood in the Western world. You know, sometimes children, because I'm traveling so much and I'm always observing all these things, you know. So sometimes children, you know, some girls, they sit on some Prabhu's lap and all this, but that Prabhu is not his father, you know. So this should not be done. This should not be done. The child has to be trained that this physical intimacy is only meant to be with mother and father, but not with other Prabhus or other matadžīs, you know, some boys sitting on some matadžīs' laps and hugging them and all this. No, this is not appropriate, you know. So the child should also be taught like this, you know, for their own protection, because child abuse is a big topic, you know. Inside is gone, outside is gone, it's a very common thing. So Vaishnava etiquette and culture protects us from all these things, you know. Krishna's system is so perfect. He made all the rules and etiquettes there, so we're protected from these things, you know. So the child has to be taught like that they don't become physically too close with people who are not their relatives, you know. And especially when the child gets a little older, let's say a girl is 8, 9, you know, then even, let's say she's got an older brother, so even there, they should be taught to keep a physical distance. You know, it would be inappropriate for an 8-year-old girl to goof around there with her older brother or something and do all kinds of fighting or, you know, physical playing around there or something. It's inappropriate. Yes. So good to be aware of these things and teach the children. It's not that we have to make them all paranoid and, you know, make them traumatize them or something, but just to tell them this is inappropriate, you know. Yes. And yeah, I mean, even between ladies and the fathers, you know, I remember once I had this situation. I took my father to Bangladesh, and he traveled with me around Bangladesh, and he had to leave Bangladesh before me, you know, a week earlier or something. So, and somebody took him to the airport, and I couldn't come along because I was giving a morning class. So I said goodbye to my father at the temple. And I was in this dilemma. I didn't know how should I see off my father, because of course in the Western world, you know, a daughter and a father give each other a hug, you know. But in Bangladesh, this is unimaginable, you know, that a grown-up woman is hugging a man, even if it's her father. So I was a little at a loss. What am I going to do? I knew this this would be awkward, but I simply thought I have to give my father a hug. But these brahmacharis, they were all looking at me. My God, their eyes were popping out of their heads. You know, they had never seen a woman hugging a man. You don't see this in Bangladesh. You know, even amongst married people in public. You know, even amongst us devotees, we should also know, even a husband and wife in public, we don't exchange any intimacies, even walking around hand in hand. It's kind of, it invites some lusty energy, you know? Yeah, so we don't do this in public, only behind closed doors, you know, but not in public. So, and for these brahmacharis, this was mind-blowing that I was giving my father a hug, you know, but what to do, that's the different cultures, you know. But yeah, as devotees, I have seen how they greet their mothers, you know. I have traveled with them and visited their homes, and we had programs there. So they still now, they greet their parents like it is described in Krishna book, that the children touch the parents' feet and pay obeisances, and the parents affectionately rub their head in affection, like it is described in Krishna book. Still they do it like that. And we may think, oh, this is somehow not loving or something, but no, this is so subtle and deep, you know. Externally, they don't make a big show of hugging and kissing and all this, but the way they greet each other, the way they treat each other, the way they respect each other, the way they care for each other, it is all so deep and loving and respectful, you know. Yes. In Bangladesh, nobody would put their parents into a nursing home, into an old age home. They would find this completely cruel. You know, the parents who have served us for so many years, to just push them out of the way into some old people's home, this would be unimaginable for them. They still have that culture that, yes, of course, our parents, we take care of them. Of course, you know. Yes. So we might think, oh, our Western mood of hugs and kisses in public and all that is so much more affectionate and loving. But no, it's not, actually, you know. Yes. Because their relationships are based on true, respectful dealings, you know. Yes. All right, so let me see if we have any questions or comments. Prabhu, what did you want to ask?
You answered my question.
Oh, I did, just see. Okay, do we have any questions?
Yes, we have.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Тема действительно очень серьезная.
Hang on, she's asking a question.
This topic.
Devaki.
This topic is very important.
Maybe just say it in Russian for everybody loud enough so everybody hears it, and then you translate the whole essence of it.
Недостаток уважения действительно мешает прогрессировать в духовной жизни. И этикет порой он очень формальный. То есть мы это делаем, но не переживаем уважение. Вот я по себе скажу. Не всегда я могу переживать это уважение. Как прийти к истинному уважению внутри?
I think I understood that the etiquettes are more external and formal, but inside
you cannot feel it.
You cannot feel that respect.
Yeah.
So
you
now,
have to come to this inside feeling of it.
yeah, I understood.
Because it does not let her grow spiritually.
Yeah. Well, in the beginning it may be like that the etiquettes are more external, but if we follow these etiquettes externally with that desire of developing the right quality, you know, then sooner or later the external behavior will become internalized, sooner or later. But if we don't have that desire to actually cultivate true respect, then the etiquette will remain just an external formality and it will not internalize. So it is a question of desire, you know? If we hear about the importance of respect and we really cultivate the desire to develop this quality, and in that mood we practice the etiquette, sooner or later it will become internalized. Yeah.
И тогда это не лицемерие.
And then it's not
Hypocrisy.
hypocrisy.
No. Because we desire, you know, we can have a prayerful mood, oh Krishna, when will the day come when I actually become humble, when I actually learn to be respectful, you know? So if we have that mood, that we actually want to cultivate these qualities, then even though we are not there yet, but eventually we will get there, just by following externally, you know. We may have that experience like, you know, in the beginning when we pay obeisances to devotees, you know, we feel it's all a little strange, you know. But then by doing it, we feel strange when we don't greet somebody by paying obeisances, you know. So eventually we will get there, that it becomes very natural and we feel strange if we don't do it, you know. Yes. So it's simply a matter of cultivation. Yeah. I mean, in the beginning days of ISKCON, people every morning were paying obeisances to each and every person individually. Every morning. You know? So, and then after a while, devotees thought this is maybe not so practical. And then it was introduced that after Mangalarti, you know, we pay obeisances all together, you know. But very initially, it was done every day to each and every person individually. But now we usually, you know, we follow that culture that if we haven't seen somebody for a longer period of time, then we pay obeisances, you know, individually. Let's say, you know, there's a, especially more senior, but even equal person also in the community, and they have been away for 2 weeks on a holiday or something. So then they come back again. Strictly speaking, we should say, oh Jai, nice to see you, and Vanchakabhaduvisha, you know. And here in the West we often say, oh please accept the humble obeisances, and we go down. But like Bangladesh, people just hit the dust. They don't say, oh please accept my humble obeisances. They just do it. They just do it. Even from further away, when they see, oh such and such is back, I haven't seen them for a while, so they just pay obeisances. That's actually the proper Vaishnava behavior. Yes. But in the Western world we don't really do this so much, you know. What else? Story short.
There were 2 questions from Prabhu. First question was a little bit more technical regarding the touching the feet. Like if we touch other objects, how it's about other part? Is it only feet or also other parts we should be careful about? And the second question...
Hang on, one at a time. Well, it's especially with the feet. You know? With other parts of the body, well, it depends. let's imagine we have some lamp standing there in our lounge room and we somehow bump it or something, then we would also apologize to it. You know? If we touch things in a bumpy way, if we touch objects in a way which we would not want to be touched by, you know, then we apologize. We don't like to be bumped at by other people. So even if we somehow bump some object, we would still apologize, you know? And behind it is this vision of seeing everything as Krishna's energy, basically, you know? And then we have a respectful attitude towards everything, you know? And also trees, plants, and so on, you know? Yeah. And what was the second question?
The second question was, Prabhu was wondering that in Bangladesh this culture is so high, how this preaching is there, that maybe sometimes some teachers go from Western world with this other culture. That I have to say that. Yeah, Prabhu is wondering what can be preached in Bangladesh when maybe one should learn from Bangladesh this culture.
Yes. Well, what we ISKCON devotees preach is the proper Siddhanta. Because, you know, in Hindu communities, people are very confused. They don't understand what is Krishna's position, what is the demigod's position, you know, why is it important to chant Hare Krishna, you know, that they are quite confused and in ignorance, you know. That's not only in Bangladesh, also in India, Nepal, you know, all the Hindus, unless they read Prabhupada's books have re-established the whole Siddhanta within the Hindu community. Without Prabhupada's books, the Hindus would be completely lost and confused, you know. So, and that's what we preach in Bangladesh, you know, the chanting of the holy name, that, you know, Lord Shiva, Ganesh, Kali, Durga, they're not equal to Krishna. People are confused about these things. There's a lot of demigod worship and so many self-made avatars and babas and whatnot. You know, so yeah, just to clearly establish the essence of pure devotional service, that they don't know so much, you know. So yeah, both learn from each other, you know. We can learn all the cultural things there, and they can learn the knowledge, the spiritual knowledge, you know. Yeah, and they're very respectful when they see Western people taking up this Vaishnava life and so on. This is really impressive for them, you know, because they all want to be like Westerners and live a comfortable life and all that. So if me as a German woman, if I'm going there and I'm showing them, yes, I have given up my comfortable life in Germany and I'm traveling preaching this knowledge and so that it makes big impressions on people's minds, you know. Yes. And at the same time we also benefit and we learn something from them, you know. And actually Prabhupada wanted us to spend time in India. I mean, India 50, 60 years ago was so much different than what it is now, you know. Now India is also very westernized and very materialistic. Again, it's connected with the economic development, you know. India has experienced so much economic development in the last 30 years. I mean, when I went first time to India 35 years ago, India was very different, very different. So there's a huge economic boost there happening in India. And that's what pushes aside the whole spiritual culture and invites the materialism to set in. So, yeah. But initially, Prabhupada really wanted the devotees to spend time in India to learn the culture, you know. But often when we go to India, we're just in a group of our people from our country and we don't actually mix much with the locals. But when I'm in Bangladesh, that's very different. There is no Western devotees there, and I'm only with the locals. I live with them, I travel with them, I preach with them, and everything do with them. So that's how I could learn so many things from them, you know, how they deal with each other and you know. Yes. Anything else?
Говорите, что такая высокая культура уважения в Бангладеше.
You're saying that there is such a high culture of
Yeah, just say your whole question first in Russian.
При этом такие страдания сейчас на эту страну выпадают.
I was waiting for that question.
Просто зверство. Это чтобы повысить этот уровень уважения, как к этому относиться?
What's she saying there?
There is such a high culture of respect in Bangladesh, whereas there is a lot of bad things happening, a lot of that. What is it for? Is it to make these standards higher even?
No.
Like,
No, see, Bengalis are very hot-blooded people, very passionate. So whenever something is happening there, there's a whole heated thing there going on. So now we had, you know, last week these protests there and this and that, and it will calm down again. It's just a temporary thing, you know. So I've been in Bangladesh in so many crazy times. Like every time the elections are happening, the last year before elections, the whole place is in a crazy turmoil, you know, and the opposition parties are calling strikes just to show their power, and then no cars can drive, and if you drive anyway, then they set fire to your car, and oh my God, you know. But I have been going to Bangladesh even in these crazy times. You know, I remember once I was in Bangladesh, and the only way they could pick me up at the airport is by hiring an ambulance. Ambulances were the only cars that were allowed to drive. So, you know, and I was picked up in an ambulance, you know. So yeah, I mean, you know, here in the West, we all hear, oh God, and the temple got attacked. And of course, it is sad and not very nice when these things happen. But, yeah, I mean, here in the West, so many horrible things happen too. You know, I actually feel safer in Bangladesh than in Germany, believe it or not. In Germany, almost every week, there's some shooting, some stabbing with knives going on the train or in schools or in supermarkets, shopping malls. My God, you know, it's happening almost every week, you know. But then once something happens in Bangladesh, oh, everybody's so worried, you know. So because I've been there for so many years, I'm in contact now with the devotees, and yeah, they had a little bit of a tough time there the last week. But it's already quietening down and it's not so bad. And I will still go in November again to Bangladesh, most likely, I hope. So yeah, not so bad. And I mean, see, also we have to understand the Hindus in Bangladesh is only about 15%. The rest of them are Muslims. Yes. And of course, the Muslims, I have done many programs with very educated Muslims. Muslim dignitaries, VIPs there, glorifying Prabhupada, glorifying ISKCON. Like they have the biggest Rath Yatra outside of India is in Bangladesh. They have every year a big Rath Yatra with 3 big carts going down the main street in Dhaka. You know, and all the police is blocking the road, and all the policemen are Muslims, you know. So they all protect our ISKCON Rath Yatra parade. And then at the stage program, the mayor of Dhaka comes, he's a Muslim, but he gives a whole speech glorifying ISKCON. So that the whole Muslim-Hindu thing, in many ways, it is not as fanatic and extreme like in Middle East or something. You know, in Bangladesh, the women can walk around without burqa and all this. You know, so it's not so narrow-minded. You know. And all the more educated Muslims, they all know about Mahaprabhu. They know more about Mahaprabhu than in West Bengal. Yes, because those who study Bengali at the university, they learn about Mahaprabhu, how he had such strong influence in the Bengali grammar. And they learn about him as being a social revolutionary, Mahaprabhu, freeing the suppressed Hindus from the caste system. That's how they appreciate Mahaprabhu. They may not respect him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but there's so many holy places connected with Mahaprabhu, like Jagannath Mishra Sachin Mata's places in Bangladesh. Yes, so Sachi Mata conceived Mahaprabhu in her womb when she was in Bangladesh. And then only 2 months before Mahaprabhu appeared, they moved to Navadvip. So all the Hindus have this mood of Mahaprabhu appeared in our country. Because he did. In Sachi Mata's womb. You know? So, yeah. So there, you know, there's so many different angles to the whole thing in Bangladesh, you know. So the educated Muslims, they're very respectful. But in every country there's some low-class people who just want violence and riots and all this kind of stuff. You know, so of course that we also have in Bangladesh, you know. Yes. Like, you know, in other countries, in England and France, there's also been so many riots and violence in the streets, you know. It's going on everywhere in the world, not only in Bangladesh, you know. Yeah. So Kali Yuga is progressing, you know. And also people become more and more godless, you know. Yeah. All right. Anything else? Sure. I'm not sure, shall I mention something about the books, or are you sick and tired of hearing it and you have all the books you want to get? I think you haven't heard anything about the books yet, have you? You have? Huh? Or in Mayapur? Okay, which book did you get in Mayapur? Kakoi Kniga? The Russian one?
Yes, spiritual culture and
Sheltering relationships.
yeah, in Russian.
I have only 2 books in Russian. Yes.
Yeah.
But ultimately you can read any book with the help of your phone. Google Translator. Yes. I have distributed a lot of books in Czech Republic, Slovakia, to people who don't read English, and they just, with the help of their phone, they can read the books, you know. So especially here for Zigo book, I can highly recommend it. There's so many things in there. For Zigo, very, very subtle, you know, very subtle. And often we don't identify it. We don't realize that the false ego is what tortures us and spoils our relationships You know, and there's also so many Vaishnava etiquette rules which help us to dissolve the false ego. That a devotee should never defend him or herself. We should not defend and answer back. And, you know, so there's so many important things, you know, which really help us to cultivate humility and let go of our false ego and you know. And also the last one, Family Life as an Ashram, Secrets of Success. That's a relatively new book. I didn't have that a year ago. So there is so much in there how to create the culture of bhaktī in our home. Because often we may be married, but our family life may not be an ashram. We cannot call it an ashram. Yes. So often our family life is rather mundane. And we just add a bit of kirtan and a prasadam, but no, we have to actually transform our family life and really mold it into a place suitable for cultivating pure devotional service. That's not so easy. We actually need some training in this. See, and all the books are actually 15-hour courses, which I give usually in Mayapur. So, yeah, you have quite a bit of education there. So especially the family life as an ashram, there's so many things in it, how we actually spiritualize our home life. And then the children also very naturally grow into Krishna consciousness if there is a culture of sadhana, culture of kirtan, culture of puja in our home. But if this is not there, then the children don't become devotees, you know. And there's also a whole chapter about physical intimacy in marriage, how to actually live this principle of no illicit sex life. There's quite a bit of confusion in our society, you know, and I did quite some research and I came across some interesting episodes with Prabhupada, which hardly anybody knows. And people are surprised, oh really, Prabhupada said that? Wow, amazing. Yes. So I'm hoping this will make our family life a little bit more Krishna conscious, but also more emotionally harmonious and balanced. You know? Yes.
How much is it?
The last 3 books, they are 15 euros each, False Ego, Entering Grihastha Ashrams and Secrets of Success. And the first 2, they are 10 euros each, in Russian or English. Yes?
Prabhu has a question. You mentioned that the 6th book is also in the process. Could you reveal possibly what's the topic of the book?
Or it's a secret?
No, it's not a secret. The title will be The Vanaprastha Ashram and subtitle Meeting Death with Joy. So there's a whole section on Vanaprastha Ashram because this is another topic. Nobody talks about it. It's not established. There's no training, no education. Yeah, Vanaprastha is like the forgotten ashram. People don't realize that after Grihastha life is another ashram. It doesn't end at family life. Oh, there's heavy statements in the Bhagavatam where Krishna Prabhupada says, if we stay in family life until the moment of death, we are committing spiritual suicide. And he says, no gentleman stays in family life until the moment of death. So many heavy statements. Yes, but you know, people read the Bhagavatam, but they don't live it, they don't apply it. Yes, big topic. And there's also 2 whole chapters on death, what happens at death and how to prepare and how to assist a person in the journey of meeting death and yes.
There was Prabhu had a question more. Is it regarding vanaprastha will be both for women and men? Or
Yes, of course. You think only men take vanaprastha, or me being a woman, I'm only writing for women or something? No, all the books are for everybody, you know. Forziga, men also have a forziga, you know. All the topics are for everyone. Yes. Men and women take vanaprastha. Yes. Prabhupada translates vanaprastha as retired family life. So of course, husband and wife both have to retire. How can only the husband take vanaprastha, but what about the wife? Which ashram is she in then? No, of course she also takes vanaprastha. It's a team thing. But anyway, wait until the book is out. I hope sometime next year I can get it printed. And then I have one more topic. The children. I have a whole 15-hour course on kids. Okay, thank you so much for your kind attention. Srila Prabhupada ki, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki, Gaura Premanandi. So tomorrow I'm going to Yelgava and I have an evening program there. And then Saturday, Sunday, I will be in this Ragatyams or whatever it's called. Yes? And we will have some sessions on family life. How to please our husband, how to satisfy the wife. So, if you want to know about that, please come. 2 days, Saturday and Sunday. So I'll stay overnight out there. But it's not so far, so people can also drive back and forth.
Thank you.
And then I think next week, don't we have... No, Tuesday I have a program at the temple about Prajalpa. That's another good topic. Prajalpa, it will destroy this movement. It's a statement of Prabhupada. And then Wednesday we have a program on forgiveness at, how do you call it, Rasamandala, is it? Yes, at Rasamandala's place. Okay, thank you. Hare Krishna.
Devaki matadžī.
Yeah.